in. There we go. I've still not mastered this yet. So I want to tell you a story about a guy named D. So D, I'm not using his full name. He exists. He's on my Facebook. The first time I saw him, we had a business in Toronto, Canada, and we saw not a gap in the market, but we'd just come out of a very lucrative business that we'd actually overdone. When I say overdone, we brought too much business in the door. So when someone, when I look to contract with someone and I ask them, how much business can you actually handle? When the response is as much as you can throw at us, I don't walk away, I run away. That's not the case. Found it out the hard way. We took a company in the telecoms industry, at the birth of it in the 90s, when what was known as the long distance market, before everything was free, as far as telecoms go. Good morning, Oregon. When everything was free, we got approached by someone, a fledgling company in Chatham, Ontario, asked if we could do the marketing for them. So we did a test market and got them 10,000 customers in a week. And they said, that's great. It took them 6 months to get 10,000 customers. We got it up to crazy amounts, 50,000 new clients a week. And they were paying us, but what they couldn't do is keep up with the, I'm in New York. What they couldn't do is keep their back office up with the amount of customers we were getting. What I mean by that is they couldn't physically send out phone bills as fast as we were getting new customers on doors. And bear in mind, this was before the internet age. This was out knocking on doors. So essentially, we collapsed the company. They just couldn't afford to operate anymore because we're providing customers with a service and they're not able to collect the money from customers because they couldn't get the bills out in time. So, that being said, we came out of that industry. We didn't look to get in it. The money was made, we pulled whatever it was, certainly 7 figures each out of it in the first 12 months. And we kind of looked at what to do next. So at the time, the 3 fastest growth industries in the mid-90s. Okay, if you use that M word on here, I'm just going to block you straight away. Okay, right. So, Mr. Whatever your name, DIY man. Okay, you're obviously jerking off in your mum's basement. Enjoy. So, we came out of a business. We had to restart again, regroup. We had a sales force. And we looked at the 3 fastest growth industries back then. Back then, it was, because of the aging situation, it was, I won't use the term old age homes, but retirement communities. A, it wasn't a fit for us. Okay, we didn't know the first thing about it. And B, there was no way for us to turn a sales force into that. It's not like you could go knock on someone's door and say, do you have any old people there? The next thing we looked at was what was known as the information superhighway, which is what we're watching this on now, the internet. And we had a deal. We could have had the worldwide, the global marketing rights for AOL, and I talked my business partners out of it because, in the words of Bill Gates back then, the internet will never catch on. It's like the CB radio of the 90s. Even Bill Gates got caught short on that one. The other industry we looked at is home security. And the challenge with home security systems is they're expensive, a couple of $1,000s. So if you got a couple of $1,000s, you go spend it on something else, not on home security. Yeah, whoops, no big deal. With hindsight, you could look at that and say you're an idiot because everyone knew the internet would catch on. No, they didn't. Home security. So what we looked at, what we devised, and what I came up with was a reason why people didn't have home security systems and when did they put them in. Inevitably, they put them in after they've been burgled. The same way someone that starts looking after their health does it generally immediately after a heart attack. Same thing. So the challenge was, we had to create an industry where there wasn't one. So I looked at it and found the challenge for people is they're not going to spend $2,000 on a home security system when they could spend it on something else. So what I came up with was, and the other reality with home security systems, they're a complete waste of time. No one goes into a house when an alarm's going off to see what's going on. We stay away from it. So I came up with a plan to give the security systems away free, and you pay a monitoring thing every month. Now this is normal now, this is standard in the industry, but I came up with this. Free home security systems, you just pay a monthly monitoring. I came up with it, I took it out, I got 3 clients in the first day. 4 months in, I called Chubb, who are the biggest in the world at this, and said, you know, how are you able to install 100 security systems a week in Toronto, Ontario? And they told me, we don't install 100 a week across the whole of Canada. I said, well, that's interesting. We're struggling to get 150 a week in one city. We were doing more within months rather, than the 2 biggest companies in the world. And we were just in 2 cities at the time. So I had to build a sales force from this. Brand new, rookie industry. Melvin, say hello. Melvin the Periscope star. And we had to build a sales force in the industry, which essentially mean I had to go out and train everyone how to do it, which was fine. I did that. But one day, and we were growing so fast, we actually had to have a recruiting team. One day I'm in there and I'm looking at this guy waiting for an interview, and he looked like he'd slept in a skip. I mean, looked like he'd been on a serious 3-day binge bender, whatever you call them. And he was a young guy. Oh, there's some brave people on here, all hiding behind faceless things. What a bunch of fucking idiots. Anyway, this guy, whose name was D, looked like he'd been sleeping in a skip. So, you know, my initial impression with guys like that, is, you know, I'll have a chat with them and give them a chance. So, this guy had no socks on, old pair of running shoes, shorts, and a dirty white t-shirt. I'm not in America, dickhead, I'm in New York, you fucking moron. And this guy, there was something about him. He didn't know much about it. He told the story later in a sales meeting. He said when he got the offer, the girl hired him. He didn't know what the job was. He didn't care. He went back to his buddy's place. And he said, I've got a job. How much does it pay? Unlimited, as much as I want. And they all told him he was sleeping on his buddy's floor. Not a bed, on the floor. And they all tried to talk him out of this job. They didn't know what it was, and it didn't pay a wage. It was commission only. They tried to talk him out of it. So he didn't listen. And I remember the story he told me where it took him 2 hours to walk to the office because he didn't have bus fare. So I took him out and I trained him and showed him how to do it, and he didn't start at any rapid rate. He just got on with it. Started to make a little bit of money. Finally bought some socks. And, you know, we carried on, and he just kind of hung around and watched what I did. And then, you know, we used to do this thing where every night after work, you know, we would finish maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, knocking on doors. And I'd always take the guys for beer and wings. That's what we did, beer and chicken wings. Anyway, long story short, well, 10 years later, I get dragged back into my own business. By then, we'd moved into another industry. That in itself doesn't matter. He'd applied the same principles. He was now president of the company. And when I was down in Texas, he did a sales meeting for a bunch of guys. And he was talking about the 10,000 hours of purposeful practice that you'll hear Michael Jordan talk about and many people. You don't know what you're doing until you've done it. 10,000 hours. And he was telling the story about not having the bus fare. And he was telling the story about wings and beers. And then he was telling the stories when he got a chance, he just did exactly what I did. He took guys out, showed them how to do it, and they copied him. And then he built a big team, then he got an office, then he got another office, then another office, then another office. And by the time the old president of the company retired at 40, who's another self-starter guy, we'll call him B. All these guys are all on my Facebook. By the time he retired at 40, the best guy for the job. It didn't matter that he was a school dropout. It didn't matter that he showed up for his interview like he'd been on the 3-day binge. None of that mattered. What mattered was his results. And his results were, he'd built 23 sales teams out of 23 offices, and he was earning over $5 million a year in commission. That was actually what industry? That was actually in the deregulated gas industry. None of the previous stuff mattered where he started. What mattered was he just carried on and kept building. So my message to you is this, and it's the same to the team that I work with, the Sparta unit. When you've got little questions and little niggles and little hurdles, my answer is always the same thing. Shut the fuck up and build. Everything else comes. If you've seen the Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. From Brooklyn, have a great day.